Good morning. It's the early show with Rick and Lola. Legendary chef and artist Duff Goldman is taking on one of the biggest challenges of his life with super mega cakes, which is on the Food Network. I had a chance to talk to him about this insane challenge. And here is that conversation with Duff Goldman.
Hi, Lola.
Hi, Duff. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. I'm so glad to hear it. So we are talking about super mega cakes. And so I watched a little bit of the first episode, and spoilers don't make friends in my world, but dear God, dude, what were you thinking?
I mean, it's when you think about it, right? I'm a pretty creative person, right? I like to make things, and a lot of times, because I'm running a business, you're constrained, right? There's only so much people will pay for a cake, and so when you're given the opportunity to literally, my marching orders were make the craziest thing you can think of. I'm going to jump at it, and I'm going to swing for the fences. And I tell you, man, most of the time I don't hit a home run, but I'm all trying.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's like when you started, making cakes, and you first came on the scene, you were breaking ground. You were making things that still today, I mean, things that nobody had ever seen before. You had things that moved. You had things that lit up, and there was fire. And now it seems like we've got, basically, it's battle bots with cake almost.
Can you imagine? That would be the best crossover ever. Battle bots and cakes.
Shooting frosting at each other across the room.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think that, I'm an artist, right? It's what I do. I make stuff. And my mom is an artist. My grandmother was an artist. My great-grandmother was an artist. It's who we are. We're just, creative people that, like to, create things in the world that we see in our minds. And, when I first started, it was like, people like, hey, I want you to make a cake that looks like my car. And I was like, hey, do you want to have the lights work? I know how to do that. And they're like, yeah, totally. So I put some lights in there. I think that's kind of where it came from. It's just like, how do we push the limits? How do we make this more fun for ourselves, for our customers? And, it really grew into a whole industry, which is, I got to tell you, just personally really gratifying to see, things that, I started in my apartment in Baltimore in 2002, people have taken, to the ends of the earth and created the most amazing things with it that I never would have imagined, any of this ever
You've
happened.
inspired so many people. So let's give people a brief overview of Super Mega Cake. So basically, it's you and your team, and you're taking on 6 other teams, and you have to, with your teams, make 6 different mega cakes against their only having to make one big mega cake. How do you balance that in your brain?
I don't know if I did. I think it broke me. But it's you come up with a plan, and we're outnumbered. Like, my team is 12 people, and all the other 6 teams have 3 people each. So it's 12 versus 18. And it's kind of like when you have like a chess grandmaster, playing 6 games at once. It's basically that, and you got to keep everything in your head, and you don't have a choice. When you're under that much pressure and that much stress, and there's so much riding on the line that you don't have you don't have a choice but to stay focused, stay in the moment, and hopefully not lose your cool. Because man, when you're losing your cool, that's when things go sideways.
That's a lot
but
of
I
trust.
do a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a lot of trust between you and your team to be able to pull things off.
Yeah, there really is, and for as the amount of pressure that was on me, like I really tried to not just like let that show too much, because I got a whole team that are all trying to get this stuff done, and if I'm losing my cool, then they start losing their cool, and if they start losing their cool, like we're already way outnumbered, right? And we have so much less time to work with than the teams do, that we just got to stay focused and keep working. If we start getting caught up in the histrionics, cake decorating is very, very stressful, even when there's no cameras in front of you. But when there's cameras on you and you got a clock, then it can get really crazy. And you just gotta keep going, and hopefully you get to the end of it.
Yeah. So one thing that I've noticed is like it's a 6-episode series. So the first episode, you kind of get an overview of what's going on. Spoilers don't make friends. But each episode is like the battle between you and one particular cake maker. But you have to remember that while that battle is going on, you still have 5 other battles in the background that are also in play at the same time.
Yeah, like while we're making a life-size shark cake, we're also making a Mexican opera house, and while we're working on the Baltimore crab feast, I'm also making a UFO that's abducting a chocolate cow. There's so much going on, and so it's like the people that I'm competing against, right? They're making, they're making their alien UFO cake, right? And that's all they got to do. They have one cake. They're thinking about it. They get to look at it, stop, sort of breathe, and okay, what's next? What's next? I solve a problem with the UFO cake, and I'm immediately going to my Looney Tunes cake and working on Bugs Bunny. Or I had to go and I did a 2,200-pound ice sculpture for the Superman cake, and I did it in like 2 hours. I had no time, so I was just like, got a chainsaw and zip, cut up a bunch of ice, and there it was. Okay, cool, done. What's next? Now I got to go bake a cake.
I will tell you, if I was on the other side of the wall and I heard a chainsaw start up,
that was kind of the point. I wanted everyone to hear a chainsaw. They'd be like, what is happening over there?
Yeah, exactly. And again, we're talking to Duff Goldman. The show is Super Mega Cakes. It is on the Food Network, and Duff, you've as we've said before, you've inspired so many people to kind of push the limits in their dreams when it comes to making these awe-inspiring cakes out there. What's next? You've got cakes that shoot fire. They've got lasers. They've got things spinning and gravity.
One of them poops.
One of them what?
Poops.
Really?
Poop. Yeah, poop. Right? Drink a cup of coffee, you poop. So I made this bull, and you hit a button, and then the bull's eyes glow red, and then smoke shoots out of his nose, and then he's got a speaker in his chest, and he moves. He goes, "Roo!" And then his tail's on a motor, and it lifts up, and then inside is the conveyor belt, and then I made chocolate poops, and I put I made pieces of hay with rice paper, and I made little pieces like corn kernels and stuck them in the poops, and then the poops come out on the conveyor belt, come out of his butt, and then we ate them.
I know we're out of time, but tell me that's the tasting element. Tell me.
I was going to make that the tasting element, but I figured the judges would not appreciate it if I made them eat poop. So I ate the poop for the gag.
Oh. Duff Goldman, a pleasure visiting with you. Thank you so much. And good luck with Super Mega Cakes on the Food Network.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
The new 6-episode series, Super Mega Cakes, airs Mondays at 9 p.m. on Food Network and streams the next day on Max. It's the Early Show. Good morning.